Welcome to Let's Talk Sports here on WYLN. I'm your host, Marty Burns, and this week we have as our special guest Eric Moucheron from Mahanoy Area High School. He's got a dual role, athletic director and head girls basketball coach. We're going to talk how that all fits in a COVID world. Right after this, you're watching Let's Talk Sports here on WYLN.
Hey guys, this is Ray Merrill from Blaze Alexander Greater Hazelton. You want cars? We got them. We have the largest selection of pre-owned cars in the area. We have over 160 cars on the ground. Plus, if you're looking to trade your car, if you want to get rid of the payments, it will never be worth more than it is now. Whether it is a Ram, a Chevy, a Mazda, a Dodge, a Chrysler. Guys, we will give you top dollar. Your car will never be worth more than it is right now. So don't waste your time. Get down to Blaze Alexander Greater Hazelton and see where we take those deals. The other guys won't.
Penn State Hazelton is improving the lives of others, starting in our community.
Providing degrees that meet the needs of the area.
Fueling entrepreneurship and contributing more than $36 million annually to the state's economy.
Researching the health of our local ecosystem on the Susquehanna River.
Together, our impact keeps growing, backed by the strength of 24 campuses and 700,000 alumni.
WYLN programming is online all the time. Visit our website at WYLNTV.com to check out archive shows and a live stream of our broadcasts. And don't forget to visit all of our social media pages for breaking news, weather, and sports. You can also head directly to our YouTube page for all our programming at youtube.com/WYLNTV35. Subscribe and ring that bell so you get notified every time there's a new show available online.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Sports here on WYLN. I'm your host, Marty Burns. As I mentioned, we are joined from Mahanoy Area High School, Eric Moucheron, and for this segment, we're going to call him Athletic Director. So, Eric, thanks a lot for joining us this week.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Now, Eric, taking over as Athletic Director has to be tough on its own, but to do it in a COVID world, talk about just some of the challenges right off the bat taking over as Athletic Director at Mahanoy Area High School.
I mean, taking over Athletic Director as a whole, like as you said, brings on so many challenges. I kind of had no choice but hit the ground running from the start. I was hired last week of June. In a normal year, we're getting things ready. Typically, the fall schedule is already done. We're finalizing winter, working on the spring schedules. COVID, we didn't know if we were starting fall or not. We didn't know what the fall sports season was even going to look like. So it was really a day-by-day type thing where we met as a group as far as the Schuylkill League ADs very frequently, got a plan in place, saw how it worked, took it like 2-week chunks at a time. We did that until we knew we were definitely going to have a fall season. On the other side of it at Mahanoy Area, we weren't able to even start workouts at first because we still were under restrictions, as we still are today, as far as when we could even gather together. So we did a step-by-step opening of sports in a sense where we allowed certain sports to begin, fall sports only of course, certain sports to begin 1 or 2 weeks, see how it went, then we would gradually increase to allow the junior high sports or the fall sports until we could get everyone up and running. Once the fall sports season started, then it was just a day-by-day, hoping that we could make it to the next week, making sure that schedules were finalized. They were changing so frequently. It was just a whirlwind, to say the least.
Oh, I'm sure. And that's part of the things that, maybe the fans at home don't get to know about, a lot of the behind-the-scenes stuff. And then, in particular, with your fall sports season, your football team, you had a new coach. Coach Holman resigned. You had to bring in a new coach. So talk about that process and getting everybody acclimated that way.
Just like you hit on, we had a new football coach. We also had a new volleyball coach this year. Emily Barkas took over the volleyball program. So a lot of new faces around the district. Not new to the school, but new to the sports realm. It was a lot of getting them acclimated with how the school runs as a whole, the processes, the procedures, the COVID procedures. It was really, we were all learning together. I look at the Mahanoy area coaches and myself working as much as I do with my basketball players that we'll touch on later. We were a team. We had to be in this together. We had to follow the guidelines that were put in place, and we had to make sure that we were allowing the student athletes to participate in the safest of conditions.
And as you mentioned, we'll talk about the being girls basketball coach a little bit later, but for these new coaches, you know, they want to implement their own system. They want to get the kids to learn terminology, because, you know, one coach to another, terminology can be so much different.
Right.
What all did they have to do as far as preparing the kids, not so much even practice, but just getting them familiar with the coach and the coach familiar with the players?
A lot of Zoom meetings. We had to get creative with how we did things. We weren't able to meet in large groups at the time, so like I said, the coaches just had to get creative. They had film sessions, and they really just had to hit the ground running and learn on the fly. A lot of them, it was trial and error. There were times when, by the time the scrimmages came around, they were still trying to implement things, and even into the season, so that by the time they hopefully hit the playoffs, everything's hitting on all cylinders.
And we mentioned the girls basketball program, so we're going to jump a little bit over the winter sports to this year's spring sports, when last year's spring sports was postponed, canceled. And you talked about looking, you know, normally you're looking ahead trying to finalize your spring schedule. When did you get to that point when you said, we got to put something together for the spring?
As far as my spring schedule, I had it basically finished midpoint during the fall season, in hopes that we were going to be able to start on schedule. So the spring schedule was just about done. Throughout the winter season, I finalized it here and there, locked up a couple teams, locations, times, things like that. But really, once practices started, you could see that we were going to probably have a season. Everything was going to be started on time. And really a credit to my coaches, because they have really taken everything to heart that we've asked. They have followed the guidelines. We're one of the few schools, knock on wood, we haven't had any shutdowns due to COVID as far as the sports go, or school for that matter. We've taken precautionary measures from a school standpoint, but our sports teams, we haven't had any shutdowns. So really a credit to the policies put in place by our board and administration, and a credit to our coaches for following everything that we ask.
And one thing that fans may not understand as far as an athletic director's job, and I think probably got a little bit harder, was transportation. When you have road games for whatever, you want to talk fall, winter, spring, whatever team has to hit the road, you know, you have to account now for social distancing on the bus, and then you have to keep the equipment separated and that type of thing. Talk about the struggles that presented. I
mean, I really appreciate everything our transportation director and our transportation drivers have done. They've gone above and beyond to make sure that everything went as smooth as possible. We've had to take extra transportation when necessary. We've had to take extra buses, extra equipment vans, and there has been no issues with our transportation department. They have been phenomenal the entire process.
And before we get into our next segment and talk about you as coach of the girls basketball team, the winter sports season. You're taking over as coach, but you still got to be athletic director. Talk about the juggling act between taking care of your team, making sure they're ready, making sure they're safe, and then making sure the other winter teams, you know, they're COVID safe.
It made for a lot of long nights. There were times I would have to work my practice schedule around what events we had that given day. On top of it, my wife is pregnant with our first child, so I had doctor's appointments that we wanted to go to. Right. It's been a whirlwind of a year. As far as the winter sports is concerned, my assistant Bridget has been extremely helpful as far as getting to events that I can't be at. If I had a game the same day that, say, the boys basketball team had a game, or if we were both home on the same night, she would be in that gym, I would be in the girls' gym. We did a great job working off each other to kind of juggle that so that a game manager was there at all times. But as far as the scheduling goes, it worked out that our swim meets were 4 o'clock, so we were able to get I was able to hit a swim meet at 4. If my game didn't start till 7, I can go from one to the next. I never went home after school. Like I said, it just made for some long nights, but we made it work.
And I guess that's sort of the nice thing with the Schuylkill League. You guys are all so close together that, you know, you might be able to go to a road swim meet and still make it back for your basketball game.
Right. And being even the swim teams, since there are only 6 swim teams in the Schuylkill League, we're, like you said, we're all very close. The ADs work well together. If there was a crazy conflict, I could reach out to one of them. They were very open to adjusting the schedule, being as so the circumstances were as crazy as they were.
Okay, now we're going to move on from athletic director Moucheron. After this timeout, we talk girls head basketball coach, Moucheron. That's next here on Let's Talk Sports.
When emergency strikes, trust your care to the all-new ER at Lehigh Valley Hospital, Hazleton. With a facility that's now twice the size. Experienced nurses who see you right away. A quick assessment process makes sure you get the care you need. Advanced technology on site. Safe, private treatment rooms, and a peace of mind that only this level of care can bring. When it matters most, trust your partner in emergency care. Lehigh Valley Hospital, Hazleton.
PPW Nation, get ready for the best of PPW Season 2. Join Paul Bowe, E. Julius Kuiper, Alexander Bravado, Tom Mitchell, and Alex Watt as we take you down memory lane and relive some of the best PPW matches of all time. Saturdays at 5 p.m., Sundays at 10 p.m., only on WYLN.
Hey folks, this week on Let's Talk Chiropractic, we're going to have Franmar Duran and Dr. Alex and myself. Let's bridge the gap. I don't want Spanish people to be afraid to come to our office, talk about pregnancy and chiropractic and laser. So come and watch the show.
Face coverings are hot and make it hard to breathe, and a mask doesn't protect your eyes. But face shields may provide a better option, as suggested by some health experts. Introducing FreshView, the lightweight, transparent face shield that can help protect your eyes, nose, and mouth from airborne hazards. It features a soft, breathable foam with an adjustable headband that fits any size head. The wraparound shape easily fits over glasses with a convenient anti-fog design. Now get full facial coverage so large droplets won't directly hit your face. For added protection, use it with a mask. Disposable masks could add up to hundreds of dollars a year, but FreshView is reusable. Simply wash and use again, saving money. Get FreshView for just $9.99 each. But order right now and get special pricing for as low as $4.99 each, and we'll even ship it to you free. This offer is not available on Amazon, so call now.
Call 1-800-975-7923. That's 1-800-975-7923. Or visit getfreshview.com. Order now.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Sports here on WYLN. We're joined by Eric Moucheron from Mahanoy Area High School. We just got done talking about athletic director Moucheron. Now we're going to talk about first-year head girls basketball coach Moucheron. And first, Eric, before we get started with you taking over as head coach, you were with Coach Sheeler. We talked during the break. He was hired in 2014. You were with him the whole time on his staff. Your team was one of the few teams that really didn't have a finish to your 2020 season.
Right.
The way everything broke out, and the PIAA kept trying to see if there was ways to play, and there was just no way that it was going to be done. For your team, and especially for the seniors on that team, I'm sure there's a lot of what ifs as far as, how far could we have gone? Could we have gone to Hershey? That type of thing. And instead, it's just one of those, the pandemic ended your season.
Right, and as devastating as it was for our seniors, we had 3 phenomenal seniors who went through the entire program from 7th grade. It was as much heart-wrenching for Tom. I mean, he put all that time in with us, and that's how his head coaching career ended, essentially. And you feel terrible because I, being his assistant for the entire time, I know the time he put in. I know the hours, the scouting trips that we took together, and I was devastated for Tom that his head coaching career ended that way.
And for your returning players this year, before you ended up getting hired, to have the season end the way it did, and then Coach Sheeler stepped down, what was the mindset of the team?
Honestly, we didn't have a whole lot of time to think about the what ifs, what could have happened last year. We were forced to ramp up everything from the minute we got into the gym. As I stated earlier, I was hired the end of June. We didn't get together for a workout until the second week of October. That was just when we were able to get gym time when restrictions lifted. So it was all on the girls at that point. We had some Zoom meetings. We talked about expectations, things I wanted them to work on, but we weren't able to meet as a team. So like you touched on with our new head football coach, Paul Babinski, I was kind of in the same boat with the system itself was going to remain somewhat similar, but to put my spin on it, to put my own touch on it, it was mid-season until we actually got going with what we wanted to do. Now, it ended up working out. We started clicking on all cylinders by the time the playoffs came around, but it made for a very tough offseason because we just couldn't get together.
And speaking of that, you were with Coach Sheeler for so long, so you knew what the girls were used to. But like you said, you want to put your own spin on it. When did you feel comfortable enough? Was it one of those that you stayed pretty much the way Coach Sheeler went? And when did you start to slowly implement your stuff, the way things you wanted to coach?
Little by little, I wanted to implement things from the first workout we had. I figured if I took it in a small step approach, ultimately, by the time we got to our games, somewhat what I wanted to be would be in place. So we started working on little by little from workout number 1 mid-October. We got to a point where our first scrimmage came. I believe it was that first week of December. We got to our first scrim. I was feeling good about how things were going. Then we had the 3-week shutdown. Then it was kind of like we had to start all over again. It was almost like we had to jump into a quick, then we got back 1 week and we were into our games already. So to answer your question, it was midway through the season, maybe 3/4 of the way through the season, early February, till I really felt comfortable, like, okay, everything we need is now in. Let's refine it. Let's get ready for the playoffs, and let's see what we can do.
And what some fans may not realize, the 3 weeks off, what did that do for the team conditioning-wise? You guys like to be up-tempo, like to be in your face defensively. That takes strong conditioning. So how worried were you about that 3-week layoff?
And on top, not just the 3-week layoff, but right before the 3-week layoff was when they implemented that we had to practice and play with masks on. Our first month of workouts from October to November, we didn't have to do that. Mid-November was when the mask mandate came into play. So now not only do they have to build up their stamina over these 3 weeks and maintain it, but now they have to practice with masks on top of that. So, a credit to my girls. They worked on their own. They stayed in shape. They lifted. They shot when they could. Middle of December, you're not getting to a court outside.
Right.
They did the best they could. We didn't have any workouts, obviously. We didn't have much contact besides I just kept encouraging them, stay in shape, do what you can, and we'll see what happens come second week of January.
And I would imagine with such tough circumstances, we talked about the end of 2020 and now to where you were at that present day, I'm sure you look to your senior leaders to mesh this team together.
I couldn't have asked more. I had 5 phenomenal seniors. From day one, they couldn't wait to reach out to me. What do you need from us? What do you need us to do? Over the summer when we couldn't have team workouts, they were constantly encouraging the underclassmen, keeping them going, giving them ideas, asking me for workouts that they can do. My 5 seniors, I really couldn't have asked for more from them.
And let's get into the heart of the season. Mid-February, you had a big game at home against Nativity. Talk about how your girls performed in that game. It was a key game for first place.
And are you speaking of the first Nativity game or the second Nativity game?
I was looking at Nativity. Oh no, you were on the road at Nativity.
Yes,
I apologize.
Yes. We played Nativity at home early in the year. Always a tough game when you play Nativity. We know each other very well. Coach Forney and I are very close. It's not a matter of not knowing what the other person is going to do. It's a matter of stopping it.
Right.
So we knew we were in for a dogfight. We had beaten them at our place. We dropped the game at Minersville, a league game. So essentially, the winner was getting control of the division. There were still, I believe, 2 division games after that, but we knew the winner of that game was going to win the division. Going to Nativity, always a tough place to play. I love it. It's always a loud gym. Even under these circumstances with the little amounts of spectators that could be there, still a loud, phenomenal gym to play in. But the girls just responded. We came out a little sluggish early in the game. I don't know if it was nerves. I don't know what was, if it was just the moment itself. But mid-third quarter, I think we went into half down 7 or 8. It was uncharted territory for these girls, and we just talked about at halftime that we had to dig deep. It was something we had to be able to do if we wanted to have success through the stretch run into the playoffs. We had a phenomenal third quarter, hit our foul shots down the stretch, and came away with a very crucial win in our season.
And it would help if the host would see where it says high school gym here and this is away. But one other spot I have highlighted, and I've talked about this in football with Crispin Field and Berwick. Martz Hall in Pottsville is one of those cathedrals that you walk into, you could just feel the history coming out of that gymnasium, whether it's Schuylkill League, whether it's state playoffs, whether it's just Pottsville basketball. Mm-hmm. But to go there for the Schuylkill League playoffs, you know, with everything that had gone on, to get there for the Schuylkill League playoffs, talk about that kind of accomplishment for your team.
I mean, in Martz Hall as a whole, like you said, there's nothing like it. I never had the opportunity to play there, so I want my players every year to have the opportunity to gain the opportunities that I never had. I really stress to the girls, enjoy it, soak it all in, but it was almost like a Hoosiers moment. The rims are still 10 feet. Right, we still got to roll the ball out and play.
Right.
But Martz Hall, Schuylkill League playoffs, it's what you dream of. It's what you dream of, especially on a typical year when they pack the gym. We've had the luxury of winning the Schuylkill League, being in the Schuylkill League championship. There's nothing like the Schuylkill League playoffs at Martz Hall.
And then you get to play at home for a District 11 playoff game, and then you come back to Martz Hall.
Right.
Minersville, to come away with the District 11 championship, and then to do it at Martz Hall. And once again, you know, everything that's gone through, and you know, you didn't get what you wanted in the Schuylkill League playoffs, but you get a district championship at Martz Hall.
And the Schuylkill League playoffs were huge for us in a sense that we got to play on the court, we got a feel for it. Minersville did as well. They played in the game right after us, but it's an experience that you have to get used to. Running the court, shooting in that gym, the depth perception. There's a lot of things that you need to get accustomed to at Martz Hall. Our girls, you could see from the tip-off in the district championship game, there wasn't that adjustment period. Like they came ready to go, they came out ready to play. It was just a fun, emotional game. I mean, I know we won by the margin we did, but just to think back of what happened at the end of last season, to the shutdown, the restrictions that were put in place, to be able to come away with that district championship, it was just such a rush of emotions.
And for you personally, your first year as head coach, to get that district championship, talk about what that felt like to you. Now you've had some time to think about it.
It's surreal. It really is. Coming into this season, I looked at the schedule. I looked at who we had coming back. I knew what we had the potential to do. I knew if we played to our potential, we could get there. Could we win it? I didn't know. We played Minersville during the season. We didn't play well. I didn't coach very well. It was probably my worst game as a coach so far this season. We weren't prepared for it. We were much more prepared for that district championship game. As far as emotions goes, I mean, as soon as the game ended, my wife came down to the court. I gave her a hug. I started to cry. It was just such an emotional whirlwind where it finally, it just came to fruition at that point.
Coach, we're going to take a break. We've talked about the districts. We'll talk about your state run. As we conclude, let's talk sports here on WILN.
Hey guys, it's Ray Merrill. It's Blaze Alexander, Greater Hazleton Mazda. Hey guys, I know what you're thinking. There's a lot of brands out there. You're looking for something all-wheel drive. You're looking for something sporty. You're looking for something reliable. According to Consumer Reports, Mazda has emerged as the most reliable car brand, beating Toyota and Lexus. You might as well get the most reliable car from the most reliable dealer. So if you're in the area, come on down to Blaze Alexander, Greater Hazleton. We are the largest Mazda dealer in central Pennsylvania as far as inventory goes. Check them out online at blazealexander.com. We'll even deliver them to you.
Careful, your regular old can opener leaves razor-sharp edges. Ouch! You need the new Safety Can Express. Now you can pop the top off and leave perfectly smooth edges on the lid and the can. Other openers use blades to cut through the lid, leaving razor-sharp edges. Safety Can Express actually unseals the lid from the side, leaving smooth, safe edges. Safety Can works on broken pop-top cans, dented cans, big heavy cans, small odd-shaped cans too. No more sharp steel when Safety Can breaks the seal. Call and get the new Safety Can Express for just $29.99. This offer is not available on Amazon. But wait, call today and you can double your order. Just pay separate fee. We will even ship it right to your door, absolutely free. Call now.
Call 1-800-317-2137 or visit safetycanexpress.com. So call 1-800-317-2137 now.
Follow us on our weekly journeys through the backstories of those paving NEPA toward a better future.
Each night we'll dig a little deeper into the lives and goals of our local leaders. So stay tuned for the end of our news as we learn more of those leading the way.
Welcome back to the final segment of Let's Talk Sports this week with Eric Moucheron from Mahanoy Area High School, athletic director and girls high school basketball coach. And we'll stick with being basketball coach for this last segment, Coach. And your state run after winning the district championship. Hit the road against Sacred Heart Academy and then Bishop McDevitt. And then wasn't the result you wanted, but you got to come home and play with an opportunity to get to Hershey. Talk about that state run.
Win the division is always our first. Get to the league playoffs. Win the district, because then we know we're going on. Under circumstances this year, only the district champion going on. Right. Usually it's the top 2 seeds. So there was a little added pressure to that district championship game to get to move on to the state tournament. As after that district championship game ended, we kind of had an idea who we were going to play. We could start getting some information on Sacred Heart. Thankfully, we knew a little bit about them because 3 out of the last 4 years we played them in the state playoffs. So there was a little bit of a familiarity between us and them. But as far as the road trip itself, I can't thank my administration enough. They chartered us a bus. We were comfortable. The whole district was behind us. It was quite an experience for the girls. It was like I said earlier, it was just a surreal experience from the start. We get down to Sacred Heart. Thankfully, it was one of the few games this year, away games, that our spectators, our parents were able to attend, which was awesome for us. We just took care of business from the start. We came out early. We hit some shots. As all season, our defense was just what it needed to be. We held them to very minimal points, and we came away with the win. What that did was, though, it then got us another trip down to Philly. So 3 days later, we get back in the bus. We come back down to Philly to play Bishop McDevitt. Team we really knew nothing about. The Philadelphia Public and Catholic League, not a whole lot of information out there on them, so we weren't really sure what we were getting into. We knew if we did what we had to do, we play defense the way we play, we stay within our philosophy, we knew we could be okay. Road trip to Philly, took care of business. What you alluded to earlier, we locked up that home game. We wanted the home game. We wanted to be able to host the Eastern Final. We knew what we were up against. We opened up the season with Mount Carmel. We had a plan going in place. They're just a phenomenal team. They have size, they have speed, they have the shooting ability. They're not just a one-trick pony. So it wasn't a matter of, okay, well, they have the 6'3" center, stop her. Well, there's other girls who can pick up the slack. So, I mean, as much as it hurt that the season ended the way it did, obviously, unless you win a state championship, you're ending your season with a loss, essentially. Right. So, and that's what I stress to the girls. It was hard to enjoy the moment at the time, but here we are a month later looking back on it. It was just such a fun run.
We look forward to trying to get to Mahanoy area next season, and at that point, it'll be athletic director, girls basketball coach, and father. Good luck with everything.
Thank you very much.
In these uncertain times, you need to know what's really going on. The source matters now, more than ever. So turn to WYLN for up-to-the-minute information on social media, TV news updates at 1 p.m., 3 p.m., and 5 p.m., and WYLN News live at 5:30. Live local news and breaking news when it happens. WYLN TV 35, we're your local network. When you see news happening in your neighborhood, call WYLN News at 570-459-1869 or email us at news@WYLNTV.com or send us a message on social media through Facebook. WYLN, we're your local network.
You're watching WYLN TV 35.